I can't believe I'm saying this to you guys. The Dodgers have spent well over $1 billion this offseason. The Rams are in control of their own playoff destiny, and has USC football turned its back on Southern California football players? Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is December 22nd, 2023. By the time you see this clip, I'm going to be on a plane heading back to St. Louis, Missouri. But whatever. Let's be happy and talk LA sports. We added a lot of new subscribers to the Angeleno Familia yesterday. And I appreciate every one of you for getting in on the ground floor. If you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. You guys have been coming up with some pretty good takes lately, I got to tell you. Before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Last night, Matthew Stafford passed for 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Rams strengthened their grip on a playoff spot with a 30-22 victory over New Orleans. Kyron Williams rushed for 104 yards and a touchdown. Puka Nacua had 164 receiving yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, both basketball teams, yikes. Anthony Davis scored 31 points, but the Lakers fell in Minnesota 116-109. Look, LeBron James sat out because it was the second of a back-to-back situation. But let's put all that aside. The Lakers are just 15-14. After how they finished last offseason, did anybody see this one coming down the pipe? Because I sure as hell didn't. Meanwhile, the Clippers' 9-game winning streak got snapped with a 134-115 loss in Oklahoma City. James Harden scored 23 points. Kawhi Leonard sat out the game with an alleged bruised right hip. And look, I'm not trying to say this to stir controversy, right? But I'm pretty much guessing that the Clippers were looking to say anything that didn't sound like load management. But if you're a Clippers fan, can you really be that upset? It was a 9-game winning streak after all. Meanwhile, today, Maryland's in town. They're going to play UCLA basketball at 6, but let's get to the news. Late last night, I posted a breaking news clip on the Dodgers signing Yoshinobu Yamamoto, a hotshot pitcher from Japan. The dude last year alone won the equivalent of not only Japan's Cy Young Award, but Japan's MVP award. So yeah, the dude got game. To be completely honest with you though, most of what I had to report, I mentioned last night because the signing was so late. What I can tell you that I did not mention last night is that there are scouts who forecast him as a potential ace. I just wouldn't go there yet because he's only 25. But when you add everything together, even if you mention the deferrals in Shohei Ohtani's contract, the numbers are absolutely breathtaking. Yamamoto signs for $325 million. Ohtani, $700 million. Then the Dodgers go out, they trade for Tyler Glasnow, they extend his contract, $136 million. Jason Hayward, Joe Kelly combined for $17 million. If you add all that up, it equates to more money than God. It's almost $1.18 billion. I can't even believe my eyes. And by the way, that doesn't even count the $50 million fee that the Dodgers paid to Yamamoto's Japanese team just to get the signing rights to the guy. It's breathtaking. So let's take a moment and catch our breath. Because like I said, most of the info on Yamamoto I had last night. Because you're sitting there trying to throw all these names against the wall and trying to come up with a Dodger rotation for next year. We got to start by wiping off the names that cannot join the rotation. Tony Gonsolin, out for the year. Dustin May, he might be available by the end of the year, but I wouldn't count on it. If Clayton Kershaw resigns, he will not be able to pitch for the first half of the season because he had shoulder surgery. And by the way, Shohei Ohtani is recovering from Tommy John surgery as well. So he's only going to be basically a designated hitter next year. If you have watched this channel for a while, you know how much I hate rampant speculation. You see this board behind me? This board is not to gossip about who the Dodgers could sign. This board was designed to make fun of all the reporters who are trying to get you all excited over all the players the Dodgers were supposed to sign. If you look at the list was as long at one point as 38 names. The Dodgers only signed 4 on that whole list. So if you look at the board behind me and you ask yourself, did the Dodgers have one more bullet in the chamber? I'm kind of skeptical. I am. We mentioned recently that a trade for Corbin Burnes is unlikely because Corbin Burnes is a client of Scott Boras, and Andrew Friedman is loath to negotiate with Scott Boras. The others, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Lucas Giolito, Hyun-Jin Ryu, yeah, they're free agents. But again, $1.18 billion. So there could be the possibility of a trade for Dylan Cease, if you're thinking of shoring up the rotation just that much more, creating a super rotation. But if I were to guess, I'm thinking right now the Dodgers rotation is going to be Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller, and possibly Emmett Sheehan. Don't know which order, just saying. The Rams are over 500 for the first time since winning their season opener. They've been hovering around 500 and, of course, at one point fell 3 games below. They currently hold the 6th position in the NFC playoff picture with just 2 games to go. Now, to give you a very simplistic idea of the playoff scenarios for the Rams, it goes like this. The Rams are going to have more than a week off before they play the New York Giants on New Year's Eve. Should the Rams beat the 5-9 Giants, they will have better than a 90% chance of qualifying according to computer modules that predict games and this, that, and the other. And that matters because the Rams will end their season in San Francisco. So the big takeaway is that the Rams, which tore their roster to ribbons in the offseason, have a firm grip on their playoff destiny, particularly if they go back east on New Year's Eve and handle their business. One person who should be pretty happy not to be playing at SoFi Stadium again this year, though, is Cooper Kupp. Not because he hates us. At least I'm confident he doesn't hate us. No, it's because the turf at the stadium is notorious. Just ask Odell Beckham if you don't believe me. So when Kupp was asked about playing 2 football games on that turf in 5 days, he was blunt. Quote, "I hate it. I'm not a fan of turf in general," unquote. Unfortunately, Kupp will be playing next week on the turf where Aaron Rodgers turned his knee into a can of Spam. So at least Kupp will have some rest before that. Puka Nacua is just 146 yards, by the way, to break the rookie record for receiving yards set by a guy I had never heard of, Bill Groman, who died in 2020 at the age of 83. That's how old the record is. Craziness. Former UCLA safety Kamari Ramsey has committed to continuing his career with DeAnton Lynn. He's transferring to USC. That makes 2 former Bruins defensive backs who are going to follow Lynn to Heritage Hall. The other, by the way, being cornerback John Humphrey. But one day after early signing day had come and gone, Lincoln Riley, he faces the scribes, and he took a look back as to why the Trojan recruiting efforts had gone the way that they went. And he said he had recently done a deep dive into what he thought were roster weaknesses at USC. His conclusion, too many players from California. Now, I know that feels like a kick between the legs. I get it. We all like to think of ourselves as producing the best of the best in everything. But if you take a step back, you now at least have an explanation as to how the Trojans pipeline, which went straight to modern day high school, had fractured, right? At least you have a rationale. Now, if it's shocking to you, I want to at least give you Riley's rationale. And you can tell me if Riley's an idiot or not. Quote, "People have got to realize we are not in the Pac-12 anymore. Those days are over." Now, that's not me saying Southern California is not a priority. Hell yeah, it's a priority. Every single coach on our staff recruits here. But we are going to make sure we are signing the right guys out of California, unquote. In other words, that also led into this whole idea of adding bigger players on both the offensive and defensive lines. Because again, you are now facing those bigger dudes who like to play smash mouth, your Ohio States, your Michigans, your Nebraskas. And by the way, Riley also said that USC will look to add 2 quarterbacks in the transfer portal, one of them hopefully being younger, because he is aware that if the Trojans after this year don't add a quarterback, they might have to go to the single wing. Don't be surprised, by the way, one other Trojans note, to see another change to the USC offense. They've recruited multiple tight ends because, again, they wanted to add size. Now, I'm not going to sit there and predict that they're about to play 12 personnel all the time, but maybe. Over at UCLA, discipline is a big thing for basketball coach Mick Cronin, and to be frank, I'm cool with it. It worked really well when you had players who bought in, such as Jaime Jaquez Jr., such as Tiger Campbell. But Cronin is starting to put his foot down. He demoted Sebastian Mack for being late to something. We just don't know what he was late to. And that preceded the devastating loss to Cal State Northridge. Yes, losing to Cal State Northridge, it sent tremors all across the San Fernando Valley. So many tremors in the San Fernando Valley that porno production stopped for about 3 minutes. Everybody brought out the fluffers. Look, Max still scored 27 points, and I'm not trying to claim that the Bruins are in deep trouble. What I am trying to tell you is that Cronin is trying to wrestle back control of the team. He has had to call out multiple players this year for not coming through. The first one, if you recall, was Adam Bona, saying that Bona needed to produce more and he was supposed to be a leader of the team after so much change going on in Westwood. Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen has been ruled out for Saturday's game against Buffalo. He also missed last week's abomination in Las Vegas with the same heel injury. And by the way, I'm not trying to troll Chargers fans. You know, you guys came from San Diego, but you're Angelenos now. So what I'm about to say, just take it with a grain of salt. I'd be surprised if Allen plays at all for the rest of the year. I would. Because if you're a football player, it's toward the end of the year and you know you're not going to make the playoffs, you're going to see a bunch of random injuries pop up. The next thing you know, it looks like you're fielding an XFL team out there. Happened with the Rams last year. Happens in the NFL all the time. So try to be of good cheer while you look through the mock drafts. Former UCLA football player Laiatu Laitu is not the only defensive lineman who wants to try out the NFL. The twins, Grayson and Gabriel Murphy, have declared for the NFL draft too. Both of them were productive in their 2 years with the Bruins. Last year, Gabriel recorded 8 sacks. Grayson had 5 sacks and 23 solo tackles. Now, to be clear, I'm no Mel Kiper. I know Laitu is very likely going to be a top 10 pick. But the Murphy twins allegedly have short arms. And I know it sounds stupid, and to be frank, it probably is stupid. But NFL people just love measuring that stuff, and apparently it's a detriment. Believe it or not. The LA Galaxy have signed a free agent left back, John Nelson, who played last year with an expansion team out in St. Louis. This is the type of signing that's not going to turn a lot of heads, but it's probably a very clever one. Consider that the Galaxy were hurting across the back line last year. They allowed more goals than anybody else in MLS, and so they've started to rebuild their entire back line. And that would also include the trading last week of Raheem Edwards to Montreal. That created a void at left back. The question at the time was if the Galaxy really wanted to hand the starting left back position to 22-year-old Julian Aude. Well, maybe they do. But even if Aude can't handle it, the Galaxy now have a contingency plan in Nelson, who also played for Dallas and Cincinnati. I'm guessing the idea is to do whatever it takes to firm up the back line before the Galaxy shoot for the moon and boost the offense with their 2 available designated player spots. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about what you think the Dodgers rotation is going to look like. How optimistic, how stunned are you that the Rams are in position to qualify for the playoffs? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corta El Queso production. Take care.